All right, we are live for a Friday edition of the M&M Mike and Mario Show. Excited to be back. Looking forward to talking about all the events that's happening well beyond our borders, as well as the borders in the UK, as well as what's going on in the UK. So, looking forward to it, Mario. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, and you, Mike?
I am not bad at all. It's Friday, and it's my favorite time of the week because I get a chance to sit down and connect with you, my man. So, I'm excited to do it. Definitely, there's a lot of things happening, and nothing is surprising, but it's just interesting to see how fast things are being sped up and hinting the idea of lockdowns and all this other stuff. And the social unrest is happening all around the world due to different reasons. So we're going to touch on a little bit of that and looking forward to it, man. So we want to start off here. You want to start off on the UK inflation, Bidenomics, which is the Biden inflation agenda, all that stuff. What do you want to start at today, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, start with the UK. That's where I am.
All righty.
Yeah, you can feel it. Like I don't watch TV, but I listen to some radio programs, and I've got people who send me messages, and you can feel that they're setting us up for more lockdowns, and all based on testing and cases, even though there's very few people actually expiring from this beer disease. And recently or today I saw an article that people are being told to stay home and isolate because the NHS app has a problem. The Bluetooth channel that pings if you're found to have been near someone who tested positive, they're going to ping you this message and say you have to isolate. But apparently now this Bluetooth signal is so strong, it's going through walls, and people who live in apartments or what they call semi-detached or terraced houses, they're getting pinged from their neighbors' signals. It's a huge mess. And the UK, we do more tests combined than the whole of the other European countries, and it's just crazy. I spoke this morning in my video that I don't like to clickbait, but I said, the UK economy is on the verge of collapse because people are not being able to go to work. They're not going to fix this or tell people to turn off this app. So I don't see the economy recovering. And if they're going to do another lockdown by fall or autumn, a lot of small businesses are going to disappear. Not that they haven't already. And what's going to be left to do for the government? Well, they're going to try to do what they did last year or do more of it, which is stimulus, borrow more money and then get the central bank to print more money. How long can you keep that going on for, and I'm not surprised because I've always, thought that the current crisis is kind of a plan to bring, do controlled demolition of all the economies of the world and bring them back better, right? Build them back better. That's right. I think that's what they're doing. It's truly evil, in my opinion, but I'll let you talk now.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I remember talking about this with you a while back as to just looking ahead, we can kind of predict and project what's coming because it's all disguised as rebuilding and reopening the economy. But they're going to use a case narrative all the way through. And we knew the variant narrative was going to be a part of that to add on to the case side of things. So, of course, they're talking about Delta this, and all the brain waves are the actual names of those cases. And so I'm not surprised whatsoever. But I think it's interesting to always pay attention to what's happening around us because, especially here in the U.S., I think we're also on the same track, probably a little bit behind what's happening in the UK. But my question I want to throw out to you, Mario, with that app you're referring to, as I was just reading through the article a little bit, it seems like they're concerned with the fact that because of this malfunction, people are deleting the app. And so my thought is, so in order to actually participate in this program, to be notified, you have to initially download this app. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so
a lot of people have downloaded it. I mean, I haven't downloaded it because I don't see why I should.
Right.
you know, and because I know what's going on, a lot of people, unfortunately, they still trust government and they think this is to help,
Hmm.
you know, like fight the pandemic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So it's sad because if it's an app that you actually go out and get, then they have the right to send you whatever, malfunction or not. But once you delete the app, that's your form of resisting. Because I would assume by now more than enough, Brits realize that this much more of a greater agenda than what we were initially told. Especially summer's here, everybody's out and about for the most part. I'm still
mm,
sure you see masks, voluntary masks, and you can tell who's actually bought and believing in all this and those who are not, because most people want to get back to norm in a sense. So it's unfortunate that they made it clear that there will be going no back to normalcy. I think the World Health Organization, Guy mentioned that a while ago. And so here we are now in the midst of this continuation of this pandemic, and lockdowns are, of course, in everybody's future, I think. But here's the biggest thing: will the people resist? Because I believe more people will resist this time, especially the small businesses that might literally be hanging on by a thread now. But then the government's response to that, unfortunately, will probably become a little bit more aggressive, to where that's
yeah,
the biggest concern. I think they want.
I just saw a story on Twitter about one of the guys who follows me sent me a pub landlord, a guy who owns a pub here in the UK, young guy. He kept his pub open during the lockdown, and he's lost his license to run a pub. So even if you stand up to it, you know,
Yeah.
you could. Yeah, and what you said there about the British people waking up, I don't think the
Majority or
majority
not.
are.
Really?
A lot of people have been scared into thinking, you know, we need to, especially I see a lot of young people out there still wearing the stuff, you know, on their face, even when they're walking outside, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And now on Monday, we're supposed to be Freedom Day, but basically it's going to be the same because the government is telling businesses, even though it's not mandating it, it's telling businesses, oh, you should think about asking people to wear the stuff on your face if it's a crowded place or public transport or so it's going to stay the same. So Freedom Day is doesn't mean anything.
So here's a picture here of a guy standing in his window, looking outside, looking desperate, just like, I can't go outside. Like when you buy into the fact that you're not able to go outside and enjoy your life, live your life because of this health situation, it's unfortunate, but it's like, how dumb could we be? How naive could you be to where you believe everything you're told without questioning it or attempting to try to get to a better understanding of what's going on for yourself? But that, unfortunately, I believe that is the majority, man, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it's coming to a nation near us or a nation near you, depending on where you're watching this from. So, but it's not just the health situation we're dealing with. There's also protests in a variety of other countries, because some are a little bit further along with the passport situation. And so we can touch on any one of those other countries because protests are everywhere. And so I think closest to you will probably be France, if I'm not mistaken, because it's right beneath you. But give me your thoughts on what you're hearing, because you're closer. So I'm assuming you hear a little bit more, and you probably get a little bit more on your news station, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch the news,
Right,
but
you mentioned that.
yeah, but even when you Google these things, France protests, you get very little now on the search engines.
Yeah.
But yes, there has been a protest the last couple of days, and it's part of also. Do you remember the yellow vests? It seems a long time ago, but this is more than just about the passport. I think just like in South Africa and Cuba, you know, and I am going to compare France to those countries because the symptoms are very similar, even though they're not as accentuated. You've got the very wealthy that are getting richer and richer. You know, the general public who's getting shafted and losing their jobs. You know, cost of living going up, wages not, wages not going up enough.
Yeah.
And wealth inequality and people, and now, you know, with all this talk of a passport, you know, the French are not having it, and I'm
Right.
not surprised. You know, here where I live, the people who collect the rubbish, they're supposed to have collected stuff down our street on Tuesday, and no one came. And then I saw some of them today. They're collecting some food rubbish, which they have to, apparently for health reasons. And I spoke to the guys, and I said, what's going on? And they said, well, we're on strike for a month. You see, and I said, do you mind me asking how much you earn? And these are people working hard, picking up rubbish, and like putting them in the trucks and stuff. And he said, well, I work from around 6:30 to 3. So, about 8.5 hours, and he earns 80 pounds. So less than 10 pounds an hour to do that job.
Yeah.
And with the cost of living rising, you can understand, so these protests, even though, we can't compare Cuba to France or the UK, and Cuba, of course, has been a completely different case. They've been under communism for 62 years.
Yeah.
But I think over there as well, there's an elite. There's people who are well off to, next to the state, the apparatus, the bureaucracy. They live very well. They live in Havana. They have nice houses. They have nice cars. And then everyone else is like dirt poor. But that's spreading as well, with the financialization of the economy, bailing out the bankers all the time, in 2008, last year, giving G7, giving a tax break for the city of London, for this global minimum tax. And I saw that now they've also given the technology companies in the US a break as well about this tax break. So all the people that have been benefiting from all the stimulus, they're not going to pay any tax. It's going to be you and me and the people who are earning 10 pounds an hour who are paying taxes. So I'm not surprised all these protests are happening. And I could see it spreading worldwide. This is probably just the beginning.
Yeah, the income gap has grown to a point where it's too wide to hide now, because it's showing up in consumer good prices as well as all the breakdown and distribution changes and things like that. So people are literally out now sharing their thoughts, letting their feelings be heard, because you can't contain it anymore. So how do you try to cover that up? By saying cases are up. Let's lock things down, and then they're going to come in and we'll provide you. We'll provide stimulus, and we'll provide you with monthly payments or whatnot. And so let me see here, Stack Silver. So Super Seamster. Someone says RTD and Mario, y'all serious today? Stack the Silver.
Are we serious?
Appreciate it. We're trying to be, but that's the thing. Like, and so based upon what we're experiencing now, it seems like, and it appears to be in the natural realm, that is nothing that we can really do about this, because we're the few that are awake and aware and trying to voice our opinions and let it be heard. But yet, once again, majority of people are still asleep at the wheel because they believe everything. So that's the part that's kind of like discouraging, because we can talk about this, hoping to wake people up. But then again, is enough time to unite in unison as a people and raise our voices? Because out here in the U.S., outside of some paid propaganda, nobody's in the streets here. Because once again, the American concept is that we are bigger and better and badder, and things are, under control. Inflation is not through the roof. And speaking of which, I want to share this little visual aid that I just shared on Twitter. Just giving a quick snapshot to what is going on with the M1 in accordance to, this is as of May. But, we got the .com crash, the response. We got the great financial crisis response. And then this is the current sickness health pandemic initial response.
Yeah.
So right now
I think it's going to go. I think it's going to go a lot higher. I mean, during the great financial crisis, all the QE went into the banking to save the banks. Mm-hmm. Now the QE is going to save the banks as well, but it's also going into Main Street, and that's why M1 is going through the roof. And if there's another lockdown, that will give them an even bigger excuse for that to shoot up.
Yeah. So it's no going down. It's no going back. It only can go up for them to keep this lie going. And that's why I think at some point their ultimate agenda is to, I guess, change the narrative in its entirety before before they lose control by it actually collapsing and something unforeseen to us occurring that catches them off guard before they execute their plan of this great reset. And that's
Or
why
they could try, again to stimulate everything when everything is locked down. And if it fails, they can always say, "Oh, it was because of this, beard disease. It's not our fault."
Yeah.
And the other thing with this pinging, pingdemic, they call it now in the UK with the apps. That who's to say that it's not the government or the NHS who are just sending bogus pings to people in order to justify locking down. And this could be the same thing with the CBDC, the digital currency. Yes, they'll give you $3,000 a month for doing nothing, UBI, and you'll be on have that CBDC wallet. But then all of a sudden, if you misbehave, they'll ping you and say, "Oh, we're sorry to tell you that we've had to freeze your funds for a week because you've done so and so, or because you bought gold or silver or something like that." Who knows? It's crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of which, it's clear as day, it's obvious they want to run this old currency and monetary structure up as high as they can, because it gives them incentive to bring out their own version of Bitcoin here.
I hadn't heard that one before.
Oh, really? You didn't? Okay.
I thought it was Bitcoin when you look at it like this.
Now, okay. So this is far left field, but just look at the similarities. You remove one letter out of that Bitcoin, you got Bitcoin. How could you pull off the concept or the idea of a Bitcoin without the public being first introduced to something called a Bitcoin? Like, we would not be able to talk about a Bitcoin had there not been something that enticed and incentivized people to get into this digital transition through a white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto 11, 12 years ago. So this is no coincidence. I'll just give him the benefit of now. Perhaps it's just a coincidence.
I won't be buying into Bitcoin. I'll try to hold as little as possible, just as I try to hold as little as possible of Bank of England notes.
Yeah, but so here's the similarities, I think. And once again, for those who are streaming live, feel free to chime in on the chat, throw some questions out there. We'll get to them. But yet, the same way we keep currency units in our current banking accounts for immediate, bill withdrawal, stuff like that, you would definitely need to keep the same amount of Bitcoin in your wallet app, because all your bills will come due, whatever, direct deposit, all that stuff. So you wouldn't keep an excessive amount, but yet you would keep enough just to maintain. But then again, this new Bitcoin comes with an expiration date. So I wonder how that's going to work. Like, will they?
Oh, does it? I didn't know that one. I didn't know that.
What's that?
I didn't know it came with an expiration date.
No, I'm saying not initially. That's not what we're being told, but that's the whole programmable money currency process. And I think we maybe mentioned it last week, but was as you said, Fat Bastard said that they are able to do more controlling things, seeing things with that next version of currency. So you better believe they're going to try to find a way to make sure people are able to, use that in a much timelier manner, as opposed to holding on to it and call yourself sitting on it for a rainy day. So you're going to be incentivized to spend it, of course. So
what do you have to worry about as well is if you have too many Bank of England notes right now, or digital pounds in your bank account, not digital pounds, but if you got money in your savings account, your current account, if they bring in a Bitcoin, it will be during probably a lockdown, and it will be during a major crisis. And what they will do is they will exchange all your fiat currency that you have now for Bitcoin, and you can bet the exchange will be very detrimental to your purchasing power, because that's what governments usually do. When they bring in a new currency, the government benefits and you don't. So that's why, we tell people to get their weight up on your channel and on my channel, to keep stacking physical gold and silver. I know the fiat price, the spot price is frustrating. They manipulate it.
Yeah.
But when this happens, you won't be able to to get any gold and silver. And the pounds that you have or the dollars that you have, if they bring a Fed coin, they're going to give you a really bad deal when they exchange things.
You're going to get shafted. You're going to get shafted.
Yeah.
And one of my mantras is you don't want to be the last one holding the bag. And what I mean by that is simply all those paper units or digital versions of or digital representations of those units. You don't want to be the last one holding them, because we've had more than enough cases where Venezuela, Zimbabwe, where people, because our last line of confidence is when people don't want to hold it because inflation is so high over a 24-hour, 48-hour period, to where you're trying to your best to just take them. I'll take anything that I can hold in my hands that I can either consume now or that will preserve my purchasing power, rather than these units. And so it's going to be interesting to see if this is where all this is heading, because now it's a global event, not just an isolated event in a country. So, but it's a race to the bottom, and you don't want to be left holding the bag, in my opinion. So as you're talking,
you see the gold price there. It collapsed there around 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's when the Michigan consumer sentiment numbers came out, and that has a component, that Michigan number, inflation expectation, and it came out at 4.8%. So the people surveyed in Michigan expect inflation in the next year to be almost 5%, and that rose from 4.2%. Isn't it like weird that gold gets hammered right after that number comes out? I mean, it's
what a coincidence.
And look at the expectations; they're rising. It doesn't seem transitory for me, and but they'll probably package this inflation thing all into this reset or a new Brit coin or Fed coin.
Now, just to go back in time, I just, zoomed out all the way up until I couldn't anymore. And this is the max. This goes back to 1978. And look at that. Look at this last go around that we had here. And so we're halfway there. But
and I mean, it looks like in 2008 it went up there quite a bit. So that will be the key level there. If we break through 5, it's all about psychology. And if people think prices are going to keep going up, they're going to buy things more. They're going to buy more things because they want to hoard, because they don't want to wait to buy something more expensive in a month or 2 or 3.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, I want to So just last night, doing one of my last night's rant, and one of the callers mentioned about the money velocity. And so we get to this super chat real quick. Chris, appreciate you for this. Now that Basel III has been implemented in Europe, it is non-binding. How effective will it truly be? Thanks. Great question, Chris. What do you think, Mario?
Yeah, I've always said about Basel III that not to put too much emphasis on it. If that, don't make it the reason for you to buy gold and silver because you think the price is going to go up because of Basel III. So I agree with what Chris said there. It's non-binding, and the bankers, they will do anything to get around and fudge it. That's what they do.
Right.
So,
and also think about who is the orchestrator of this entire conversation or surrounding Basel III. It's the institution, it's the banking sector themselves. They're the ones that came up with their solution to their own problem that they created by demonetizing gold and silver in particular, because they needed time to do what we're currently experiencing right now, which is to basically race to the bottom of the currency destruction. So because it's their idea, lets me know that it's not for the people. That's
and what they want is, the last thing they want is the general public to get into silver or gold. Gold, of course, is harder to get into because it's more expensive. But they want the general public not to own anything. That's what World Economic Forum said. You will own nothing and you will be happy. So they don't want the plebs owning gold and silver, and they're going to do everything in their power to discourage people to do that. But we saw the other day, Brazil increased its gold reserves by 62%. I mean, that's huge in just 1 month. So they probably got a nod, look, we're going to reset things maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder, and I'd assume, based upon all the repatriation throughout the last several years that have been mainstream storylines, that there has to be a core reserve amount that each central bank will need to have in order to continue on when things are, when the people are brought to zero. And so how they will evaluate, who will be setting the price? Will it be a basket of currencies that they use as the measuring tool or what? But it looks like, I would imagine at this current moment, every central bank is a spinoff of the primary central bank, the BIS, of course, Federal Reserve System itself. And so if they're the accumulators of gold, they're protecting themselves from the units they give to the public, that they also get paid in those local currencies, and they also invest in those local currencies. So it's good to say all the people behind the scenes on the boards of all those banks, they also have a very well-diversified portfolio themselves outside of their own currencies of destruction. So watch what they do, see what they do, and do what they do. Don't listen to what they tell you they're thinking about doing, because that's a bunch of crock, in my opinion. But
because why would countries still keep gold as reserves? Central banks keep gold because they know they'd have no credibility if they didn't have any gold.
Yeah, very true.
I know the Bank of Canada doesn't have any gold, but
now. And Trudeau is over there acting a real fool right now. Like just yesterday, he announced that, because we're connected literally with a bridge and a tunnel, and he was saying that the only way you can come in starting in September is if you've had both, of those things and you're fully participated, then you can come through. And I'm like, wow, that right there alleviates a nice portion of possible tourists because right across the water there's a lot of activity, restaurants and whatnot, casinos, but that right there alleviates a good portion of revenue probably coming in from those who are not going to go now, but they don't care because they're also just spending, creating out of nothing to spend to debase their currencies as well. But the question I want to throw out there to you, Mario, and was thrown out last night, a little rant I had, was that the money velocity. The money velocity is still at an all-time low. So some people might say we might not see inflation. We may not see hyperinflation because the currency is not circulating. They're not, the dollars, that $1 that they've used and measure is not moving hands fast enough. And so can this buy them time, you think, or what?
Well, the problem with this velocity, money velocity, is that the economy has shrunk a lot in the last 16 months, but the money supply has gone through the roof. But we are already, inflation, I always look at it as the increase in the supply of money and credit. So I look at M1 and M2, can't look at M3 because the Fed stopped publishing that because they don't want people to see it. But to say that prices are going down, you're not living in the real world. Just look at the CPI. Look at the cost of living. This talk about deflation and velocity is just a herring for the 1 or 10% for the Fed to keep inflating, to keep pumping money into the stock market and financial assets, while the general public continues to suffer with a higher cost of living. It's just basically extracting wealth from the public. And the Fed also publishes these wealth data from like 1989, and I think now almost 90% of all the corporate equities and mutual funds are owned by the top 10% of Americans. So this thing about velocity, it's a red herring. And because when people look at Michigan, people are expecting 4.8%. It can change on a dime, and that money velocity could explode as well. Not that I care so much about that money velocity, because we're already seeing, they have a data as well, the purchasing power. I think you've published that, the dollar, I think, is the Fred, and it's going like that, the dollar. So how can you say the dollar is rising and not losing value when it's losing all this purchasing power?
Right. And to piggyback on that visual aid about, let me put this up here, from the University of Michigan's expectations of inflation, 4.8% is what, in its previous 4.2, and that's in accordance with the same measuring basket that the Federal Reserve uses. So imagine if they use, for example, like John Williams from Shadow Stacks, or just went back and used an older measuring model of the CPI back in the day when it, included food, energy, housing, stuff like that, stuff that people really need. I would assume that these calculations would definitely be a lot higher than what we're.
Yeah, they would be higher than they would be around. I think the 1980 version of John Williams is over 12% now, between
Yeah.
around 12-15%, and the
Yeah.
1990 version of CPI is around 8 to 10.
Yeah, so we would definitely be a lot higher. And speaking of which, I actually ranted off of John Williams' stat. Let me see if I can find it. I got it right here. Yeah, so let me go ahead and pull it up. I keep everything ready, Mario. I try to keep everything ready for you. But here's a visual aid from that one. And so this is what you're referring to here. So
Yeah.
we got this bottom one here, I believe, is the one you're referring to.
1980, yeah.
And so we can see the difference if they measure it in accordance to the way that it should be or would be. Now, here's the thing. If people were to see this, they'd be like, man, that's wow. And you would think, well, what else am I being lied to about? Like, how deep does this go? But obviously people don't.
Everything.
Yeah.
The thing is, what they've done over the years, the way they've adjusted that, one is substitution. So if you let's say in 1980 they kept the price of prime rib steak, but now they keep the price of Spam, right?
Yeah.
So, and then hedonics as well. Let's say the average car in 1980 cost, I don't know, $10,000. And now it costs, only 20,000. And they actually measure it at 10,000 because they say, oh, the cars now have much better technology. So you're actually getting, it's not really worth 20, it's worth 10. It's called hedonics. But what they don't say when they do hedonics is that, yes, the car is better. So they adjust the price slower to like 20 years ago. But people's wages haven't gone up as much as the car has gone up, you see? So it's all a big fallacy.
Yeah. So, and that's the whole concept of really taking a deeper dive down a rabbit hole as far as trying to understand the framework and how the purchasing power concept, really works, because your purchasing power is never increasing within a currency that they're destroying. So you have to get into hedges against that to basically protect yourself and preserve yourself. So I want to acknowledge this. Tim, appreciate you, my friend. Says the rights of the people are being printed away by the government. This will not last. Very true. It's just a matter of now how much longer, how much more time can they basically buy before they completely ruin everything or usher into our next society. So,
well, I think Rafi Farber noted that Murray Rothbard, who was a Austrian school economist, noted that hyperinflation is actually when people vote. It's a really bad thing because all the currency, the money is destroyed, the currency, but it's actually a vote of no confidence in the state and the government. Yeah. So that's where it will probably end up. People won't want to hold the currency, and they'll go for anything but the pound, but the dollar. But they'll probably, when that happens, they'll probably put us under lockdown and force us to use a digital currency. That's probably what will happen this time.
Yeah, very true. Now, for those tuning in, definitely thought a question, thought a comment. We'll definitely try to, get on that as best we can, because there's more than enough subjects. And ultimately, what we're really trying to focus on, as I got another video here, is that, it's hard to hide the lies now because people are feeling it. And so in certain nations, certain pockets of the world, people are out and about letting their voice be heard by protesting. And so here's something that really caught my attention just with this video here. This is a mainstream video here. And it says thousands go looting as South African law and order breaks down. And so just watching this video here and seeing people out in the streets, and of course the anchor man out here was basically asking questions as people walk by on the train, carrying goods, carrying whatever they could. And I'm thinking, like, unfortunately, here's a guy carrying a bike. And the guy asked him, according to what he said, is, what are you going to do with a bike? You can't eat a bike. He's like, I will, watch me, or something like that.
He stole that, didn't we?
Yeah. So they're looting, I guess, from a port not too far away, and they're using the train tracks to get in and out. And so here's the thing, several things here. There was obviously warehouses probably of goods that were being withheld from the people, creating that artificial shortage, which we all know that they're doing as well. But yet you got people who just say, skip it, I'm going to get whatever I can. So they're raiding warehouses. The military and police are not really doing much other than, as you see here, you see a couple people out in the streets. But South Africa right now in this particular region is just a mess, and they have the same issues as well. Currencies, the South African rand has been heading down for quite some time.
And I heard there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of inequality, you know, and the other thing, there's been a lot of corruption, you know, just because South Africa went away from apartheid, and I know it was bad apartheid, and got a majority government, doesn't mean they're going to be good, the politicians. It doesn't matter what color politicians are. They're always, most of the time, corrupt. And I think that's part of the problem as well in South Africa. They're fed up with the politicians. The politicians are enriching themselves while the people are, I'm not justifying looting, but you can see when people lose it, that's what happens. And I think the other thing I saw a video, and this South African guy was being interviewed, and apparently police officials and government officials in South Africa, they're selling thousands of firearms to gangs, you know, and making money on the side. So it's breaking down, you know. South African people have guns, you know, illegal, because there you have to have it registered. And I think the reason the police isn't doing anything is because they've been overwhelmed, because they probably haven't funded the police properly over there, and the military. So they've had to resort to a lot of private security, or even vigilantes to protect property. So it's a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess, and I think it's definitely signs of the desperation. Like, you know, looting, rioting, you know, they're not done in times where people are happy, satisfied, well-fed, and prospering. And when you have those events, clearly it's a sign that something has broken, and the mainstream news now will do the best they can to hide all that from us, but yet it's going to be hard to hide it as more stories come out. And of course, they're going to cover it up. And let's say, how do you lock down in South Africa? They've already been through lockdown, and monetarily, you're not going to get people to stay home because they got to go out and eat and feed themselves. So it's complete chaos and disorder right now. And this is what we've always anticipated was coming, but it's only 2021. We're 1 year into this mess that they have created for us. And so just imagine, you know, looking ahead, how bad might things really get when it hits home to the developed nations for real.
I think it's a 5-year plan according to the World Bank, and they've got the documents. It's supposed to run until April 2025. You know, the CV, well, at least the World Bank's CV preparedness program. They've got the document. They say it started last year, end of March, and it will end in April 2025.
Now, between now and that time frame, imagine how many variants are going to be thrown at, lockdown, stimulus, and currency. All the unimaginable is going to be thrown at us, man. It's going to be very unfortunate. But yet, once again, there's another protest that I thought is worth mentioning, just because the title alone, it doesn't make sense. It says water cannons used to disperse water shortage protests. And so this is over in Delhi. So this is interesting.
That's a good one. People are throwing pies at people who are protesting about starving.
Man. So in India,
it does say that it's lack of clean
access to clean water.
So you wonder if this water they're spraying at people is clean. Probably not.
And that's the catch. Like, I don't know. I would imagine it would be dirty, because people would definitely not want to be sprayed with toxic, unclean water. But once again, when you need clean water, and that's the thing, that the technology exists out there to provide everybody on the planet with enough food, enough water to sustain themselves. But yet it just, to me, goes to show how much of a structurally planned event we're all experiencing. Because I've seen, you know, projects that have been created, people who do crowdfunding, Kickstarter, and Indigo, like things to create products that you can put rainwater, dirt water, polluted water, filters it, and produces a cup of clean, pure water. But those projects seem to never make it into full manufacturing capacity to get to the people.
I think what's happening now as well, with all the disruption worldwide with supply chains and everything, a lot of the poorer countries where the infrastructure and the the way governments run things, local authorities it shows up that they're not fit for purpose.
Hmm.
And when things are going okay, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what's happening to places like India, South Africa, Cuba, and even France right now.
Hmm.
The what's happening in France is not new. If people remember well, we had the yellow vest protest starting
Hmm.
2 or 3 years ago, and
Yeah.
it was all about fuel costs because they're
Hmm.
raising taxes. And I saw loads of interviews of people in their 40s and 50s in France, living almost in abject poverty.
Mm.
So this is nothing new, and I think it will get worse, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Super Steamster says the U.S. bombed Libya's $1 billion water plant in addition to stealing 193 billion in gold. So yeah. Deliberate destruction of infrastructure, man, is the best way to make sure you contain the people and complete any objective you have. So that's
And it
very
helps
sad.
also because you can rebuild and
Hmm.
give your friends new projects, and they'll make money. You
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
destroy something and you rebuild it.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Yeah, and then also we got the determined future of going green by this carbon free emissions, and then the products they've now spun off of that, even in the crypto space, you have to have clean Bitcoin, cleanly freshly mined Bitcoin, ESG, like everybody get a chance to buy in to clean this, clean that. You gotta, so just the products that they're now spinning off for this going green future, and it's like, wow, like they can find a way to create a problem, cause destruction, tear stuff down, and then give a solution that profits them. It's a repetitive cycle. And it's
And at the same time, they're encouraging people to wear this thing on their face, and it's polluting the oceans now. All these blue masks, they're
yeah,
really bad, and people just throw them away, and they're making the environment even more fragile.
yeah.
But I'm sure you saw there's really bad floods in Germany, and like
Yeah,
Belgium, and yeah, and it's really bad. I feel sorry for the people there, but unfortunately, I think they're going to exploit that, and they're going to say, "Oh, look what happened there." That's why we need to do,
climate
climate.
change.
We need to push this green agenda. Anything that happens like that, they're going to use as an excuse.
Yeah. Now, once I saw the story, didn't get a chance to dive too deep in it, but isn't it interesting? I find it interesting that there's so many stories being brought to the surface now on all these natural disasters, or are they even natural anymore? Because I know that the agenda is climate change and you need to push that narrative. So you need more events, or is it just the mainstream media make sure to focus on an event as it occurs because it can always be pointed back to we need to step in climate change and da, da, da. So I
Yeah,
wonder how much of these events are natural, how much are actually man-made through technology, weapons, or whatever to achieve this
yeah.
to feed their agenda.
I don't know much about technology weapons
Yeah,
or weather modification. I've heard of it, but who's to say? I mean, I think this is quite unusual, though. What's happening in Germany? Not that
yeah.
it's not, but it's happened many times before in the past.
Hmm.
But it just seems that I'm sure in a few days they're going to use this as an excuse. I think I'm going to say it's because of
Hmm.
climate change.
Yeah. Well, this is that's my first time seeing this video here, and just look at the landscape, man. Like
That's pretty
what's
bad. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah.
and so my question, I mean, so that's the thing. Like we've built, these huge infrastructures. We've built lives on Mother Earth, which is, we're all subject to nature. Nature changes, nature shifts, hurricanes come through, real or fake or whatever. Like for example, Florida's below sea level. So to me, I've always thought that at some point, water is going to come above that and it's going to clear all that out. So Florida may one day be underwater. So, but yet that's something we should anticipate happening one day, as well as California. It's on the fault line at some point. So those are things I grew up hearing about. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But
Yeah, well, people make the choice to go and live in Florida, I
right,
guess. But if you think well about it, yeah, it's not a very safe place. And every year they have, the hurricanes and the storms.
yeah,
And in the UK as well, we have floods regularly. And they're always in the same places. So you
yeah,
kind of wonder, people choose to live there.
right,
That's
yeah. We had
sometimes
some
you
floods.
don't have a choice, though.
Right. You need a house. You need a roof over your head. It's unfortunate that we've built on areas that, come to find out, might not be the most structurally sound. So here, not too far from me in Dearborn, floods come through every 2 or 3 years, and it wipes people out. And I'm thinking like they just rebuilding. And on top of that, you think about the liabilities. Insurance companies will say, well, sorry, you don't have insurance. You have flood insurance. Like, well, I pay insurance. I thought I should be covered. No, I'm sorry. Good luck. So, yeah, Super Seamster. Thanks for RTD, Mike. Great info. Great. Get that weight up. Definitely. So Mario, man, we can go on and on talking about the problems. Let's talk a little bit about some of the good things. What's some good things we can talk about? Anything come to mind off first top of your head?
I think the good thing about this whole crisis is that hopefully people will start helping each other a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Families are going to get closer,
yeah,
and realize that what's important is family, that you can't depend on the state.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, people wake up and realize that you can't trust the state. Government means, govern, to rule, and then ment means mind. That's what they try to do, to rule your mind. Hopefully people will wake up to it and realize that the individual, you have to look after yourself first, because if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after your family, and then things work out. I think that's the positive, even though it's going to come from going through what we're going through now. But people can only learn from mistakes. Nobody always wins or is successful. And I'll touch upon golf a little bit. Jack Nicklaus, he won the most majors, 18 major championships, but he also came second the most times. So that's the positive, I think.
Yeah, and I personally think that we're witnessing, to piggyback on what you're saying, we're witnessing an awakening period. So many people, like for myself, for example, I'm a primary example of a person who have no official background in anything economics, macroeconomics, or anything like that. Just I began asking questions, and I am one of a lot of people just tuning in, I'm sure, as well as in your audience as well, that just light bulb went on and realized something was wrong. So they start asking questions and self-educating themselves, and they've better position themselves now and for what we hope will be a promising future, better than we can ever imagine. And it's because of information technology, to being able to use it while we still can to better ourselves. And through that, I think you, as well as myself, we've done more in waking people up, helping our fellow man, that I think that definitely counts for something. I'm saying we're doing the best we can to unplug as many people from the matrix as we can, but we still got a long way to go, Mario. But yeah, in the meantime, as long as you're above ground and you're breathing air, there's still time. There's still time. And so I think I'm hopeful that through this, we're able to grow closer together, probably cut off the internet a little bit, and just actually connect and bond with people while they're trying to make sure we stay in our house, lock us down so we can't socialize. And then, of course, from a spiritual standpoint, a place of worship, hopefully our churches, our leaders in the church can realize that the whole tax incentive that they were given to separate church and state was all by design to make sure they never dipped in government business while the government controlled our mind, as you just mentioned. And so I'm hoping that there's a disconnect in that real soon, where people realize.
There's a super chat there, I think.
Yeah, let me see here. Tim, Geoengineering Watch is operating by former U.S. generals trying to expose and stop cloud seeding. Lots of environmental facts provided in their content. All right, so Geoengineering Watch, people, if you guys want to find out more,
all right,
plug into that. But yeah, once again, Mario, it's always great to connect, my man. I appreciate you for taking time with us and connecting. It's always a blessing to bounce ideas and thoughts off each other, and also be a source of encouragement, my friend. You do a good job of encouraging me, and hopefully I do the same for you. And for that, everybody, we appreciate you for hanging out with us, and have a great weekend. Stay blessed, stay prayed up, and definitely try to, over the weekend, my challenge to you guys before we meet again next Friday is to try to find a way to share some good news with your family and friends, while also incorporating truth so they can have a chance to decipher what's real, what's not, so that they'll hopefully be willing to accept and make some changes in their life while they still can, before things hit the haywires, similar to the way they're in South Africa and everywhere else around this world. So other than that, Mario, have a good one, my friend. Looking forward to doing it again next week. Everybody,
have a good one too, Mike.
Be blessed, be safe. See you guys later.